there, I'm Erica Henry with Rebel Stitchers, and this is another video in the Raw Wool to Roving series. And it's a hot day here in Tennessee. It's already making me sweat, and it's, you know, not even 9 in the morning. That's Tennessee, but we're gonna have some fun today. Today I'm gonna be doing an experiment. I have 4 of these shoebox tubs here, and we're gonna be comparing Blue Dawn to Unicorn Power Scour and washing wool and see what happens. I used Blue Dawn for about a year, and I have switched to Unicorn Power Scour. It took me about a year because Blue Dawn is readily available in all areas. It's cheap, it's easy to find. I always had it. Make sure it's the ones without the enzymes though, just the regular stuff. And it worked, but I started with this because I didn't know if I would like processing raw wool, and I found out that I love it. I'm weird like that, but I do love it. I love watching something go from nasty to gorgeous and usable. So I did start with this for about a year. It worked because this stuff, this Unicorn Power Scour, is about $25 for the 16-ounce bottle. It's expensive, and it took me about a year to dive into actually giving it a try. I am not affiliated with Unicorn Power Scour, however, I do have some affiliate links down in the description through Amazon. So today we're going to be taking these totes, filling them with some cool water, and then adding some boiling water so it's nice and a good temperature, and comparing the results from the Blue Dawn to the Unicorn Power Scour and seeing what happens. So I hope you enjoy this video, and let's get started. Alright, so this left side is going to be the Dawn, and this right side is going to be the Unicorn Power Scour. You can't see that, of course. Yeah, there we go. Kind of can see it. But we're going to put some cold tap water in all 4 of these, and then I'm going to add some boiling water to them as well, and wash a couple of clumps of fleeces in them. So we've got some cool water in these because I can't get hot water on the tap. We'll put the boiling water in there to raise the temperature up to be able to melt the lanolin and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to add some hot boiling water to all 4 of these. And the reason I'm doing all 4 is because when I rinse, I want this water to be about the same temperature. So the Power Scour does have instructions on how much to add. However, I just kind of intuitively do it. So I'm going to put a squirt of each, generous little squirt. I guess if I was being really scientific, I would weigh this south down out to have equal amounts, but we're just doing a little small experiment here. So Dawn is on the left, Unicorn Power Scour is on the right. We're just going to drop it in. I'm going to take my tongs, gently submerge everything. I don't want to agitate too much. South down's really easy about not felting, so it's really easy to work with, but not all fleeces are. So we're going to let this set for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then we'll move it over to a rinse and continue to rinse until it's clean, and we'll see how they go. Okay, so these have soaked for about 30 minutes, so I am going to pull them out of the water, which is still pretty hot, and just give them a gentle squeeze. You don't want to twist and agitate too much, but just a gentle squeeze to try to get that water out. Dump that out. Scoop the next one up, which is our rinse water. Since it's outside and it's a nice hot day, it's even coming out of the pipe pretty warm. So I don't think I'm going to need to add any hot water, but if I want to, I can. Now I just dropped this fleece down into a dedicated salad spinner that I only use with my wool and fibers. And I'm just going to give it a quick spin to try to get even more of that dirty water out. And that just kind of helps get some more of the dirty water out. Helps reduce the amount of times I need to rinse, but this was the Unicorn Power Scour. And I'm going to drop it into that hot water that we made earlier to give it a first rinse. This was the Dawn. And look how disgusting these waters are. Ugh. Scoop the clean hot water up, and I'm going to fill this with some more water. And the sun will start to heat that up. Let's spin the Dawn wool. Just a quick spin. And drop it down into the rinse water. See all that nasty water that came out. I'm going to let this soak for another 30 minutes to an hour, and then we'll continue the process until the water is clean and also there's no soapy residue. Okay, so we've done our first rinse in the Dawn and the Unicorn Power Scour. We've done our first rinse with water, and now I'm just going to gently squeeze out the water from these. Remember, don't wring, just squeeze. And we'll see where we're at. So far, the amount of dirtiness of the water seems similar. Squeeze out as much water as I can get. And let's take a look at what we've got. So, I mean, just visually, these both seem about the same amount of clean. This portion had more of the yellowing staining regardless, but they look very similar. So let's go ahead and put them in the new rinse water. So this will be rinse number 2 for both of them. Scoop these up. And I'll go ahead and put more water in these rinse containers. Let these sit again for 30 minutes to an hour and go from there. Hey there, so it's another day. I think it's like actually 3 days after I washed the Dawn and Unicorn. I think it's been 3 days since I washed the wool in Dawn and Power Scour, Unicorn Power Scour. So I wanted to talk about the results. Life got in the way, so that's why it's like 3 days later, but that's life. So I've got 2 bags here. This is the one that was washed in Dawn, and this is the one that was washed in Unicorn Power Scour. I thought whenever I was pulling them apart I had them pretty even, but as you can see there was more fiber in the Dawn. But I wanted to kind of talk through my thoughts. So if you remember, this was Baby Doll Southdown. It was extremely lanolin filled. And okay, so my Dawn's on this leg, Unicorn Power Scour's on this leg. It was extremely lanolin filled. Now I can still feel it's still soft with the Unicorn Power Scour. It's still soft with the Dawn. It's kind of hard to see in this light, but I will say in the real life that the Unicorn one is slightly brighter white than the Dawn. Very, very close. But when I take a look at them, you know, even with all of the vegetable matter that's still in here because I haven't picked these, drop some fiber. Put that to the side. In the natural light, the Unicorn is slightly brighter. But the biggest difference, they both feel very similar. I do feel a little bit more greasy in the Dawn one, so I do feel more of the lanolin still in here. So if you prefer to spin in the grease, you might like Dawn better because it hasn't taken as much out as the Unicorn Power Scour did. But my biggest takeaway is with the Unicorn Power Scour, I don't know what it is, but it takes away way more of the sheepy smell than the Dawn. I mean, I like the sheep smell too, but I will say that's one thing I've noticed between the two. The Unicorn Power Scour smells more like a very clean, light detergent than sheep. So that's one thing to note. Another thing to note is during the process. So during the process, with the Unicorn Power Scour, I washed it once in the Unicorn Power Scour, and then I rinsed it 4 times. It probably wouldn't have needed that many rinses if I hadn't used as much Power Scour as I did, but I never washed just this amount, so I wasn't really sure how much to use because I'm used to doing large fleeces. But I tried to follow the directions, and I don't know if I underestimated how much, or I overestimated how much water was in there, but it did take 4 rinses before the water was clear, and actually it took like 2 rinses before the water was clear, but then I had to do an additional 2 to get the rest of the soap out. The Dawn, however, took 1 wash and 6 rinses. So it took a lot more to get the Dawn out than it did the Unicorn Power Scour. So just something to note there. Like I said, both of them work. If you do get the Dawn, make sure it's not one that has enzymes. Just the regular old standard stuff works. You know, if I was just processing stuff every now and then, I would continue to use Dawn. I used it for 2 years. It worked great. However, since I do process all the time, once I started using the Unicorn Power Scour, I was hooked. I buy by the gallon now and refill my small bottles. It's been totally worth it to me, in my opinion. It's expensive. Like, it is expensive, believe me. But to me, it's been worth it. So if you want to try, they do have some tiny bottles. It might be worth it to try out a tiny bottle first, see if you like it better. And if you do, then buy a bigger bottle or buy a gallon. I wouldn't buy a gallon unless you're like me and you process a whole bunch of fleeces. But yeah, so, you know, just buy the tiny bottle and give it a try if you want to. If not, keep using Dawn. Not a big deal. They both work. They both work well. But the Unicorn Power Scour, in my opinion, is a little bit more efficient. It takes more of the lanolin out without having to have extremely, extremely, extremely hot water, and it requires less rinses. So, I hope you enjoyed this comparison. Make sure to subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.